United Matters channel it is. Benjamin Sesko to United transfer this week. That's what Fabrizio Romano has gone ahead to obviously tell us. That a huge development will obviously be reached this week in as far as this deal is obviously concerned. Smash the like button, comment and share. If at all you're watching us for the very first time, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories, so as not to miss out on the stories that we do upload in here on a daily. We are really having stories from Cunha, Bruno Fernandes, and the manager of Man United, that is Ruben Amorim. So United having gone ahead to miss out on Victor Gyökeres. They turned out to a player known as Benjamin Sesko, and the list is really having Nicholas Jackson. There is even Oli Watkins, some of the strikers that United is really looking at. But as it stands, United is also interested in Benjamin Sesko, and Fabrizio Romano has told us the following: that next week will be very important for the future of Benjamin Sesko. United continue to discuss him internally, while Newcastle are going strong for him with a contract proposal ready. So Man United are continuing to discuss internally about Benjamin Sesko on whether he's the right guy that United should obviously go in for. You understand? And for the side of Newcastle, they are going strong for him with a contract proposal ready. Now, I don't know whether we can obviously win this, because when you look at Newcastle, they're having money that Liverpool is obviously going to be getting them from the sale of Issa, close to 150 million pounds, 120 million pounds guaranteed, plus 30 million pounds of add-ons. That is Newcastle for you, meaning that they can easily gauge to that level and see to it that all goes on well as planned. So when we are to look at this transfer, I think United really has a lot to fight for, but it will depend on where the player wants to play, that is Benjamin Sesko, and depending on the outgoings of Man United. Because one of the players that we are really so much in for, and our expectations were really huge, that if at all he goes, we'll obviously get in a very huge boost. He goes by the names of what's his name? He goes by the names of Rashford, and it's a loan with an obligation to buy. You know, not really getting in either 20 million pounds, 30 million pounds, or 40 as expected by Man United as what we call a pure profit. Now, Garnacho is the remaining player that we can get some huge money from. And I think before those players really get moved on and we get in cash from a home-based player, there is no way United will obviously have a very huge push and urge to obviously sign this guy. Yet for Newcastle, it's imminent. They're going to be getting in the money and they'll get this deal done and dusted. So that's where I have a problem with this deal. However much the player might be willing to join Manchester United, but is he going to be able to wait like how Cunha and Bruno Fernandes waited for United obviously to accomplish these deals? And for my case, I don't really believe that it's all about Man United getting in a striker now. Our next signing should be a midfielder. That is it. You know, if you look at how Kobe Manu played yesterday when you're playing against West Ham, you obviously understand that he should be a constant in that midfield, and all he needs is a workaholic other midfielder. Ugarte, I know, will fit in very well like a glove, but Casemiro doesn't have the legs, because I don't want to see Bruno Fernandes being one of those players that United is considering to play in the double pivot. Yesterday when he played into that number 10 role, he really looked very, very good as a player. Not so? He looked very, very, very good, and I went ahead obviously love what he went ahead obviously put out in there. So I think we are not in a good place to obviously get in a player called Benjamin Sesko, and I think Newcastle is a step ahead of us, because I think they have money at their disposal and they're playing the Champions League. They're willing to spend more than what United, and for United they have to obviously look out for funds, you know, but it's really impossible. So we wait and see how this deal really goes on, but I'm not optimistic that you're obviously going to be getting this deal of a player known as Benjamin Sesko done and dusted. Now, the other guy Amorim on Bruno Fernandes, after scoring a brace yesterday, said he leads by example, works really hard, always available. Sometimes he plays with pain, sometimes he gets frustrated and loses a little bit of focus of his job. Sometimes he wants to help so much, it isn't the best thing. He has to wait for the ball. So, the manager is talking about Bruno Fernandes, and I think he went ahead to understand that that Bruno played better into that number 10 position, and we all know to it that when he's playing that number 10 position, Bruno plays better than any of the number 10s we have at Man United. So I think the best thing to do is to play him in that position and not see him really leave that position, you know. And the manager is saying Bruno has to wait for the ball, you know. And if you're having Ugarte and Kobe Mainoo, especially in that midfield, the double pivot, I think Bruno will be 100% sure that the ball will obviously come to him. That is it. But if it doesn't come to him, it will obviously mean nothing into the mix. So, as it stands, I think Bruno Fernandes should be played in that number 10 position, and him and Cunha and Mbeumo should obviously share that position, though the plan of the manager is to play Bruno in the double pivot and have Mbeumo and Cunha play as the number 10s. But I think he has to change into his game plan as a manager. As for me, that has not obviously gone ahead to look like it will work out best for the club of Manchester United. Then Bruno Fernandes on Cunha being vocal in the dressing room. He said Brazilians are very loud and happy. He's a funny guy. He's settled in quickly. We need him at his best and create this connection with every player. Obviously, when you look at Cunha, he's one of the pieces that United missed out last season. You need a player to obviously create those chances and really reduce on the bodies of the opponents, especially in the middle of the park or the central axis. And this is what he does best. And he really expresses himself on the ball, whether in areas of congestion or in areas where we're really having some huge spaces to obviously come in through and really operate to the fullest. That is the guy known as Matheus Cunha. And I just love what he does. And in the dressing room, he's really very vocal, and he has gone ahead to come in through to obviously take United to the next level. And I pray to it that we sign a CDM, because if you don't sign one, all these signings that we've gone ahead to bring in through won't really thrive as anticipated. So guys, thank you very much for watching through. Tell me your thoughts about Benjamin Sesko United transfer this week. You know, as Fabrizio Romano talks about it, that if he doesn't come to Man United, he'll end up at Newcastle. Amorim hailing Bruno Fernandes, talking about his weaknesses and strengths, you know, and it's like his strengths are really bigger than his weaknesses. And lastly, what are your thoughts about a guy called Cunha being vocal into that dressing room of Man United? We out.